I think we're live.
I think we're live.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh, look at my hair, it's doing crazy things. Oh no, that's even worse. Good morning from Australia. We hope you have been keeping well. Right, I'll just tell you what we're going to be doing today, and then we'll get on with it. So we decided we'd talk about spirit realm in this episode, but more specifically, what happens when we pass over. So we're going to be, so we've sort of broken it into stages, okay? So we're going to be first talking about preparing to pass, and then we're going to be talking about the period immediately after. We're going to be talking about entry to the healing hall, and then we are going to be talking about how we exist in spirit realm.
Right.
So that's the structure.
Yeah, and we just want to say from the outset, these are our experiences. We have experienced these things ourselves, and we're going to try, not to be too serious, but we're going to pay it the attention that it deserves.
Yeah.
With and the respect that it deserves as well.
Yeah.
Because it's basically what we're going to tell you is about the transitioning and what happens when obviously people that transitioned with spirit guides and loved ones or something like that. So
yeah.
Anyway, we'll one step at a time, hey?
Yeah.
All
right. So we can see there's a couple of people there. Hello. Thank you for coming. We're not ignoring you. Okay. So when we talk about this transitioning business that we're all going to have to do it at some point, preparing to pass. What do we even mean? Let's set the scene.
So I'm going to talk about my dad and my mum, so that you guys know that this was sort of fairly personal to me. I remember sitting down with my dad, who was probably 77 or something, and he had no idea about passing the spirit realm. And I had hundreds and hundreds of encounters with spirits. And so we just started talking. And he said to me, well, Paul, what happens when we pass over? I said, well, from what I've been told by John Collins and other people,
spirit guides,
spirit people, generally a lot of people sort of are a bit surprised that they've passed over. But, oh boy, I'm sitting in my chair and I'm standing up looking at myself, and they don't realise that it happens because it's basically people just sort of seem to like fall asleep. And then I said to my dad, look, when you pass, the first thing you do is just stand wherever you are and just think of me, and you'll come to me straight away. All right. And that was really important because you're now operating by thought. You don't have to walk anywhere. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. So whatever you think, you'll go. Wherever you put your thoughts to, you'll go. And so, do you want me to talk about when he passed and what happened, or
maybe we'll come back to that. But I think we've been told by the spirit people that when we pass over the release of the spirit person from the physical body, it doesn't happen immediately. It can, depending on the context, it can take a couple of weeks, it can take a couple of days, or it can be a split second, just literally depending on what's going on. And I remember you telling me about your mum, and when she was getting ready to pass over, she had visitors, spirit visitors, and you could see them.
Do you want me to talk about that?
I do want you to talk about that.
So when and we're covering some fairly sensitive ground here, so we need to be sort of a bit careful of what we say. We don't want to upset anybody. But so generally when people are going to pass over, that could be in hospital, and So I was in hospital. My mother was in hospital, but she was unconscious, and there was other people in the room. And I looked, and I saw a spirit person that I knew. I knew them when they were alive. You know, just standing at the head of the bed. And then somehow my mother woke up, and I'd said, "Who's in the room?" to her, and she said the person's name that was in spirit. And so I turned around and I said to the spirit person, "Well, now it must be time for her to go, right?" And then let the magic in. And then I think in about 20 minutes later, she was gone. So that's one situation where spirit people come, loved ones come, they come and take a person to in spirit realm.
But you actually were able to ask your mum who you see in the room.
Yeah.
And she named that person.
And she named the person who was in the room. And so even herself, getting close to transition, quite often people see their loved ones coming to them as well.
Yeah. And John Collins has been a bit amazing, hasn't he, in his support of people passing over.
Absolutely. So we've had a lot of people come and ask us, say, like I've been diagnosed and this is going to happen. What do we do? And John's said to me, or said to the person through me, "Well, I'll sit with you until you pass over, and then I'll take you in the spirit realm." And we had one situation where the person was in hospital for 3 months before they passed over, and they were telling everybody that John was sitting on the bed every day. He would just sit on the bed and talk to the person that was passing over. And then once they did transition, John came to me to tell me how what was how the person was, but he was stopped from telling me, believe it or not. He was not allowed to give any information. And when I asked him who had stopped him, he said it was an angel. And I was like, well, okay, well, if you're being told by an angel that you can't give any information about this,
I'm going to deal with that.
Then we'll have to wait. So we waited. And then a couple of weeks, and then the next thing John came back and said, "Okay, we're allowed to talk about that now." Now this comes back to something that we're going to talk about, which is the healing hall later on. So
yeah, okay. So you want to wait for that bit?
Oh, if you want to,
yeah. Okay, all right.
Because that's also part of it, isn't it? Like
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I guess the main thing we wanted to the main point we want to get across with that is that people aren't by themselves in that process, that there is support for people. And so immediately after passing, I think this is where it gets interesting. It seems like some spirits immediately go to spirit realm. But other now spirit people, they seem to hang around. They don't want to go just yet.
I don't blame them.
Yeah, and we've experienced so much of this. I don't even know where to start. Like you've had some with the lady with her husband who just refused to.
Yeah, he just refused to go
to spirit
further into spirit realm, although he was somewhat in spirit realm. He just wanted to stay with his wife until she passed. Whereas other people that pass over may hang around for a few days and then realise that it's time for them to move on.
Yeah.
And so it just depends on the person.
What is this space they're in? Because they're not in spirit realm. They're not in the astral. They're not 3D at this point, physical and solid. Where are they?
They're just around us. And the thing is, you try to put words to stuff that's based in frequency, and it's just like it's the difference between two radio stations.
Okay.
There's that white noise in between,
the static fuzz,
and that's where they are until they move to spirit realm, which is a radio station, right? So
because everything's connected, right?
Yeah, and the Zetas have talked about that. They've said, imagine, everything's inside circles, but the distance between the circles, there is still some level of connectivity between them, because nothing is truly separate.
So is this, do you think, where earthbound spirits reside? Those spirits that, like to cause a bit of trouble, maybe they had really severe addiction problems in life. They don't want to give that up even after passing, so they don't want to move to spirit realm. Do you think that's where they're existing in that static fuzz space?
Absolutely, and the static fuzz, if you want to call it that,
I'm going to call it that,
will also be around the person that they're hanging around. So the person who's got the addiction or whatever, they'll have that static energy around them as well. So that's the point of connectivity between the spirit person and the living.
So you're in that. What you're saying is that somebody who passed of severe addiction issues is more likely to hang around or attach themselves to.
It's up to them. They have to
somebody with addiction.
That they make a choice. We will. I think we need to sort of talk about the healing more. I think.
Yeah, we're getting there.
We're getting there.
We're moving through.
Oh, okay. Right.
If anyone has any questions, feel free to throw them in as we go along.
Yeah.
But just before we get to the healing hall, there's another little layer, isn't there? We now have choice in where we go because we have the distillation. Yeah,
but a lot of people don't know where the distillation is. So if they go into spirit realm and then just head towards the distillation, they'll see it.
Yeah.
There's no getting away from seeing it. Then they can move through spirit realm into the distillation.
But that's like saying we don't know where spirit realm is.
Well, you don't see the difference is you don't need to know where spirit realm is just because you came from spirit realm. It's your home. You're dialing into your home address, right?
Okay, so it's just like the automatic homing beacon is on.
Yeah.
Okay. So with the distillation, that would have to be like a conscious choice before you pass. Otherwise, you would naturally just go to the spirit realm.
That's right. You would have to diverge to the distillation. That's why there's an entry point in spirit realm that goes from spirit realm into distillation.
Yeah, that makes sense, really, doesn't it? Now we've said that as to why they put that connection in.
Tricia says, do these earthbound spirits transition eventually?
That's a really good question.
You see, time doesn't exist for spirits, and so if they were seen, this is a very interesting question, because if they were seen by a master guide or a very well-trained gatekeeper spirit, that spirit may approach them and talk to them and try and educate them, because no one's ever left to their own devices.
Yeah.
And so I would suggest, from what I've seen and experienced, that no one is left unattended.
Yeah.
So there'd be a time where they were just with that person, but then, with the addiction, but the spirit themselves would ultimately move on.
Yeah. Okay.
Under the tutorage of other spirits.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've seen that.
Yes.
And you've experienced that.
I have.
Where the spirits have come to help.
In some way.
Yeah.
With other issues. But yeah, absolutely, they're not left by themselves. Yeah, okay. So moving then into the healing hall.
Right.
I find the healing hall a really fascinating concept.
Okay.
Because there's been so much said about it over the years, over the decades.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess the whole spirit realm information I've found very interesting, because with spirit people, it's because what we are and what we know to be true to ourselves, we don't ever talk about it in the same way, for instance, as we talk about extraterrestrial races. And so because we feel more naturally inclined to associate ourselves with spirit people in the spirit realm, we have all these words, and I was trying to decide what these words meant this morning, and I think the best way I could describe it was we have a sentimental attachment to these words. So, and I'm going to give you an example of what I mean now by the healing hall. So the healing hall, we think of this as like a hospital with caring nurses and all of the kind of emotional content that you'd expect with a place of healing, right? Now I'm certain that what the healing hall actually is where the frequency of the spirit person is realigned back to what spirit realm is when they left. So the spirit has left spirit realm, they've come here, and when they go back again, they're not the same frequency because of everything that we go through in life. And especially when somebody is sick and they've passed, from illness or disease, when they return back after they've passed, their frequency is not in alignment with spirit realm, so they go to the healing hall.
It's got a little bit of distortion.
Yeah.
It'll depend on how unwell the person was before they transition, as to how long they actually stay in the healing hall as well.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to other mediums that have also seen the healing hall. We may all call it different things, but the funny thing is when because I've been there, I was taken there to visit my dad. Some spirit people stay in there for about 7 months. Now, of course, time doesn't exist for them, so I don't know. You could probably stay in there for a couple of days if you needed to, or for as long as you need to. But I see it as having no walls and just having columns. It's open to the air. It has beautiful white silk curtains that you can see through. It's a very breezy, light atmosphere, and with just some beds. And there's people, they're just like glowing in their beds. They're not. And they're being attended to by other glowing spirits.
So I wonder if that's just the that they've given you that as a framework to understand what's going on, like a visual framework.
I think who was with the person, I was going to say the person, the being that was with me was letting me see what actually takes place, but I wasn't allowed to speak. So
yeah. What was I going to say about that? You put me off track. That's right. So we were talking about this the other day, and you went into a kind of semi-trance state as we were talking, and I wrote down what you said. And you said, how out of phase a spirit is the driver to entry into the healing hall. We know this because when spirits return here to visit loved ones or through a medium, they present with what they passed from.
And that answers Trish's question.
Then you went on to say, when spirits drop their frequency from spirit realm to the 3D space, what is waiting for them is a reanimation of their illness.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so anyone who's a trance medium or a mental medium, when spirits come to them, they may all of a sudden feel unwell or have an illness related to the spirit. And most mediums are trained to know to ask the spirit to step back a little bit.
Yeah.
Because the closer they get to the three-dimensional space, the more the medium experiences what the person passed over from.
Yeah.
It's only after the spirits come maybe 2 or 3 times to the same medium that the spirit does not then experience what it transitioned from as a physical person,
Yeah.
because they know that they don't have to experience that anymore.
Yeah.
Or it'd be like some people, are heavy smokers,
Yeah.
and then when they turn up with the medium, well, you can smell the cigarette smoke.
And the medium has suddenly the worst cough in the world.
Yeah.
I've experienced that firsthand. And you have to say to them in your mind, you don't have your cough anymore. You don't have, the lung issues that you did. Are you able just to step back a little bit? And they gradually get the hang of coming forward without that illness.
But
It's difficult.
the point's been asked, the question's been asked: does the higher self have no illness? Well, the higher self doesn't understand illness. That's the first thing.
Mhm.
But what happens is it observes all things that take place in the physical container. Then, when you transition, if you and I think this is just a belief system that spirits have. There is probably no reason at all for a spirit to be unwell. But when they pass over, they know that they passed over of something.
Mm.
And if it was quite difficult for them, they could be in a belief system where they need to feel that they need to rest for a while before they are integrated into the spirit population.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we know that higher self can't become unwell. But it also, remember, when you're in spirit realm, you create your own reality, and what you think becomes real.
Mm. Would you say every spirit passes through the healing hall, even if it were just to be for a fraction of a second?
No.
Okay.
I'd say there'd be people that would probably pass in their sleep and wake up and realise that they're in bed or sitting on the chair watching TV, as you've seen happen with somebody, and they just go, "Oh, I passed over," and then they just transition straight, and they're fine because they may have lived their life of a spiritual person, not spirit as in religious, but spiritual as in they used to work with spiritual over a circle leader or
I
something.
think you can be a spiritual person without aligning yourself to religion. So somebody's just made it here. Yes, we can see you. Well done. We should hand out little frogs. Or little
chocolate ones.
The chocolate frogs you like. Yeah. That was very interesting. That person who you were talking about who passed as they were sleeping. They had been reading a book on their couch, on their sofa, just relaxing, and seemingly just passed away. And it took a good 3 or 4 days of earth time passing before they realized they'd passed. So
that's not uncommon though.
No, it's not uncommon at all. I've heard it so many times.
Yeah, it was reported by other mediums in the past that when people were, it was World War II.
Oh goodness, yeah.
That people would be shot and killed, or unalived, and they'd be still running and shooting, and they wouldn't even know that they passed over. So, but that's what I've read. I'm not saying I've never experienced that. I've only read that. So.
Okay. So, all right, and so we're saying that people spend the time they need in the healing hall if they need it at all, and it's just really like, it reminds me of the gateway process where they have like a little, if you go through the gateway to another race, they have that little holding place where
the transition area,
where they acclimate
the
human spirit if it were to be able to get there, and that really is a whole other subject.
Yeah, but we still talk about from here. So the person might go, you know what, I'm not going back to spirit realm. I don't want to go back there.
And I'm not doing the distillation.
Because I've had enough of this specific planet. Can't blame them at this point. And they then have a chance to go through the gateway, and the gateway has 9 races.
Yeah.
but they have to know that that's what they're going to do
They have to understand
before they transition. And
Yeah.
then, of course, they have to then attend the gateway. They would have known already that they were going there.
Yeah.
And then at that point, depending on what race they decide to go with,
Yeah.
they then have to be held in a transitional state, because that race cannot allow that human spirit to move into their hive mind or collective consciousness with all of their stuff.
Yeah.
The problem is with going through the gateway is that there's no coming back from it.
That's right.
Yep.
So,
And the sort of big ethical question that people have is, so I'll never see my loved ones again, I'll never see this person, I'll never see that person. And I say, well, yeah, you can if you want, but you won't be seeing them in your form as you were as a human or a spirit. You'll be seeing them in your new form.
and you, in your new form, you're not allowed into spirit realm either.
No, but you can come. But physically, you can come and visit
They,
your
they
loved ones.
yeah, if they're here, you can come visit.
So you can
Yeah.
class that as an alien visitation.
Yeah.
Interesting,
That's
because we're doing a video next weekend, isn't it?
I think so.
On the day after disclosure.
Yeah, and things like this might well come into it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the gateway, very, very interesting. So we actually have three options. We can go back to spirit realm. We can make a conscious decision to go to the distillation. Or if you're absolutely determined and understand the nuances of what going through the gateway means, you can go through the gateway as well. Any questions about that? I know I would have 100. Okay, so in this scenario, we've passed over and say we've been through the healing hall.
Right.
On exit through the healing hall,
it's off to the pub.
What happens next?
No, well, you would have started already know what sort of reality you want to experience. Now, we happen to know that some spirit people create their reality exactly as that was before they passed. They used to like mowing the lawn. They used to like the house they lived in, and all the rest of it. So all they do is create, through thought, their same process. And interestingly, and we don't know how this happens, sometimes the reality they create in spirit realm overlays their physical reality of where they live. And next thing we know, we can see the person mowing the lawn of a house that they lived in that's in the physical, right? Yeah. Or what about the time where the school had all the spirit children running around, and the living children that were at that school could play ball with them? Yeah. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
I know that sounds really not possible, all the rest of it, but
it's really
really happened, and so that those two realities intermesh so heavily, and you'd be surprised actually how many spirit people walk the earth
because it's meshed,
because of the intermeshing. So a lot of spirit people that like to say go bushwalking, they may have a favourite park or forest or something that they used to love walking in, so they create that, but suddenly they're seen in the physical forest walking as if they bled through into the physical. I've seen it happen multiple times myself. These are my experiences, all right? So
do we want to stop and answer these questions, or do we want to just
can one choose to explore the multiverse
as a
spirit? Well, I think
I'm not sure.
We're not real sure about that, because the multiverse also contains multiple timelines, and so we have to try to work out if each of those timelines is what's classed as an asynchronous environment, and you exist on every single timeline, and some
You're just making it complicated now.
I'm telling it like it is. Okay, but some of it's just too hard to answer. It's like the question, where did source come from? Nobody knows, and these multiverse questions are too complicated.
If we just went with, let's forget about the kind of multiverse aspect of it, but like, so if we know if when a person passes, they can exist in the static fuzz, like this in between space between 3D and spirit realm.
Yeah.
Can they leave this?
No.
They can't, can they?
I don't.
Because that's why spirit realm was created in the first place.
Yeah. I can't see a way for them. You would have, okay, let me give you probably a bit of a hint here. You would have needed to be traveling through the multiverse while you were alive so that you would have the information that you need to do it as a spirit person, right? But you wouldn't be able to do it by yourself. You would need to have a extraterrestrial or interdimensional guide that knew how to transition from one universe to the next, one timeline to the next. And if you had that level of experience with you, they would be taking you on those journeys.
Because is that because the spirit entity in its pure spirit form being would need to be constantly altering its frequency every time it
to shift through?
Yeah.
So
okay.
The way, so if you say to me, how do we get to the Arcturians? Well, we develop like a tunnel to them, but I can't create that tunnel. The Zetas have to do that.
Yeah.
And then we ride on that tunnel to that race, right? And then at the other end of it, that's where you get to meet them. Now, I can't do that. I don't know. People say that they can just go to a certain race. Well, maybe they can, or maybe they can't. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I would absolutely want to seek some evidence if someone said, "Oh, yeah, I can do that," and I'd say, "Okay, explain to me fully your process for doing that."
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes sense. It's a bit like we can't go into spirit realm unless a master guide takes us, or
an
angel takes us there.
Yeah.
So that, again, we've got that you need to be accompanied, probably because there are frequency changes that need to happen in order for you to be in that space.
The other thing that we haven't covered with the spirit realm is that there's massive communal areas.
Oh, we haven't even got there yet.
Oh, we're not at that?
No. Yes. Like, that's right.
No, yes.
Yeah. Yes, no. Yeah. Well, that's what John talks about this a lot. He talks about his ability to create his private space and to be exactly as he wants it to be.
Mm.
And that he can choose to go into a communal space if he wants to.
But he's not the only one that's done that. I've seen multiple spirits that they're social. They like to be in communal areas.
Well, why not?
There could be marketplaces. Or, your reality is only limited by your imagination. So if you've been to marketplaces, if there's a special city that you like to be in, you could recreate the whole thing and you could live in it and do whatever you want. And it would be populated with a whole lot of either like-minded spirit people or the spirit people that you create from your own thoughts.
And would you know that that's what you're doing, or would it just happen around you?
You would know. You are absolutely cognizant of everything, because you remember you are the thought that you're having in that moment.
Oh God, I just have like this flashback to communion where it says he's told you're not the dream, or you're the dreamer, or you remember that little comment? Something about that was weird. um, we've heard so many different spirits talk about their space. I've had one spirit who was communicating for quite a while about how he just kept on his earthly life exactly as it was, which involved sailing, a lot of sailing. And when he passed over, he didn't realise at all. And it wasn't until he'd noticed that the sun hadn't set for 3 days or something, that there was something just slightly off with that space he was in, that he realised something was wrong, and then his dad came and spoke to him. But yeah, it sounds very interesting. And you always talk about the film "What Dreams May Come."
Yeah, absolutely.
That is almost like the perfect illustration of that. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it.
Well, I've also seen situations where I've been with someone when they've passed over in a hospital, and then they've gone and visited all their relatives as they passed. And as they passed, the spirit moved around the house and people could see them and everything. And, and it was only when I went to visit them in person, that this was talking about the spirit coming to the house, that I even found out that they did that.
And that was before they passed?
No, as they passed over, they immediately went from where they were to where they maybe have lived, and then they're seen by people in that house.
And did that person then go to the healing hall?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There you go.
So it's, I think in some respects I find it all quite simple to understand.
Yeah.
But there are certain levels of complexity when you start thinking about scenarios.
Yeah. Well, I think that's because everybody's different.
Like, who am I with?
Yeah.
What's my reality going to be? All those sorts of things.
Yeah. So, I mean, a question we get asked frequently is, where exactly is spirit realm?
Yeah, we talked about that, though.
And it's this merge. It can be a merge of the physical place that the spirit understood themselves to be in. But it's all around us. It's not this separate. I know it sounds like it's like a separate space, but it's not.
Do you know?
It's just a different frequency.
I'll tell you how I see it. Have you ever gone for a swim and then run the water and you turn around and look up and you can see the surface? And when you see the surface, you may see the sun or whatever's on outside and under, outside of the water is reflecting down. That's what it's like to actually be in spirit realm and look into the three-dimensional space, is to look up through the water and see the surface. And of course, to enter into spirit realm, you've got to leave the water and move into the three-dimensional space.
That's a really good analogy.
All right, so that's how I see it and experience it as well.
Here's a question for you.
Okay.
Why do some people never get a visit from friends or family that have passed?
Massive. Yeah, that's a really big question. And I think in some respects it would be lovely if everybody could get a visit from their loved ones or their friends or whatever. But I think sometimes when people pass over, they just don't have any desire to want to return for whatever reason, and that could have something to do with the life that I lived in the physical, and there's people I would love to meet, or and you can, when we talk about who can come to you, remember you could have spirits from your generational line that could come and visit you as well. Someone from 250 years ago could come and visit you from spirit realm, but it would just depend on how open you are to that experience, or whether you would even be able to know how to access them, or whether they would even know how to access you.
I was going to say,
people automatically assume that spirits know how to access life.
Yeah.
And they don't.
It takes a spirit. They have to learn how to come back
into
through
the mud.
here. Yeah, and they have to learn how to be noticed, or seen, or heard, or experienced. It's not an automatic thing that a spirit person can communicate with somebody that's still here with us on this plane. Many people just think that because they haven't had a visit, nobody wants to come and visit them. That might just so not be true at all. Somebody might be trying really hard and they just can't quite manage it, or maybe that person is so taken over by their emotions of the situation that it's almost made it more difficult for the spirit person to get through.
So the question that's been put up is, who teaches spirits to communicate? Well, we have to look at it from a couple of different sides. A spirit person may want to communicate with a medium, and then the spirit person has to spend years working out how to interact with their loved one, with that person.
Yeah.
And it could even be a spirit that the medium doesn't even know. That's the other thing. So if the guides are trained by other guides, right? And then they may look at the person who's a medium and go, "We think that person has the potential to be a medium." And if you look in the course lists that we've got, we've started a series on contacting spirit guides,
developing relationships,
and that talks about, I think, the show. The show is where something will happen to the person where they experience a spirit in their life. Leslie Flynn, as an example, and then it was only 7 years later that he developed. So, who teaches spirits? The medium teaches the spirits, but also from the spirit side, they also have spirit teams and spirit scientists.
Yeah.
And if you're a deep trance medium and have a proper team working with you, that team will have varying ranges of experienced spirits that will be teaching each other how to do certain things.
And they often comprise of spirit people that were mediums when they were here. So they quite often they don't stop. they just carry on, but from the other side.
Yeah. So definitely mediums will get together in spirit realm, because I've spent my life working with spirit people.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I'm in spirit realm, and am I going to just throw that all away and not use that ability to help other spirits? No, of course I'm going to help everybody with the best that I possibly can, so that as many people can come back and talk to their loved ones.
Yeah.
And so you'd be taken on board with a very experienced team. I'd be the newbie, and I'd be taught a lot of stuff about how ectoplasm works, and energy, and photoplasm, and all the plasms that exist, and how to actually interact with the living, and all those sorts of things. So there's a lot of stuff that you have to do. But from my side, just like all the mediums that would have been on that team, they would have already known how to move through into and connect with spirits.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
I think this is an important video. That's the first thing. And if you could share it with, just share it around, so that people could sort of get an understanding of spirit realm and what takes place. And it's okay to have a different opinion. It's not a problem. It's just, this is just our experience as well.
And what we've been told.
Yeah. And there's a question: do spirits who used to meditate in the world pass over more easily?
I'd say in my experience, yes, they do.
I'm going to have to agree that if you meditate, even if you're a rubbish meditator, like there'll be days I go to sit to do meditation, it's just rubbish.
Or you fall asleep.
Just nothing happens, or you can fall asleep. But at least you're trying, and that's one thing. You're acknowledging that spiritual aspect of yourself. You're acknowledging that you do need time away from social media and the noise of social media and all the energy of all of it all. And so in those quiet spaces, I'll give you an example. Have you ever been unwell and thought, you know what, I'm just going to go and meditate? And then you meditate and you sort of maybe come out of it feeling a little bit better. That's because you're acknowledging your body, you're acknowledging your unwellness, you're acknowledging yourself, and you're saying, look, at the moment I'm feeling a bit fragile and I need to spend some time with myself.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why I would say to you, yes, people that meditate, and it would depend on the meditation. Some people meditate like, let's say, the monks. They would meditate so heavily that their transition would just be seamless.
Yeah. Well, there were monks who did transition through their meditation.
Yes.
Purposefully.
Yes, there are monks that have done that.
Yeah.
And they also, we happen to know a medium that, we won't say their name, who said that if the next time that they sat, they knew that they were going to pass over, and so they hadn't sat. And I'll talk about it.
Write it down.
Oh no, I'll talk about it off camera.
No, write it now. Just write your name because I.
Oh, you may not have known this though. I spoke to that person and they told me that.
I didn't know that.
That's okay.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, sorry about that. But anyway, so did you have?
No, I think we answered the other people's questions as we
went along.
Oh, there was one last question. What happens when somebody wants to come back here and have another physical earth line? Will there be a copy of them left in spirit realm?
That's an interesting question, because you could make a copy of yourself and leave yourself there and then leave, or somebody could make a copy of you. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
I make my world and I populate my world, my existence, with all the people that I knew when I was alive. Those copies exist, but they only exist in that realm. Those copies aren't going to leave. They're not going to be sentient. They'll be able to interact with everybody and they'll be able to act as if they're sentient, but they're not actually sentient because they're just a thought form that was created by the spirit.
Oh, it's getting tricky now.
So there you go.
Okay.
There's a lot to all of this, and we try to explain it as clearly as we can. But as we said, this is what we've experienced ourselves, and much more than what we've talked about today. Sort of, we don't want to overload people. So with that course that we've uploaded, the Spirit Guide course.
It's a free course.
It's a free course, and then we're just hoping to sort of help people on their journey.
Yeah.
In connecting with loved ones and guides safely as well, if possible. Yeah. All right. Ideally.
Okay, well, there's no more questions.
There's no more questions, and we don't have any more questions, and so it must be time for us to
depart.
To go.
So thank you for coming along, and thank you for your questions.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next Sunday.
And next Sunday is the day after disclosure.
I think that's what we're going to do.
And it's not extraterrestrial disclosure; it's human disclosure.
Yeah.
Because it's a very complicated subject. All right, there's a lot more to this than people understand. So we'll see people next weekend. Bye.